Hi there, hope you're having a good day. To be perfect is hard. No one can be perfect all the time, and in fact, even being perfect some of the time is a challenge. However, trying to be perfect is a noble goal, but in fact, trying to be perfect and actually being perfect are very different things. I freely admit that I am one who likes to do everything well. Sometimes that is a blessing, and sometimes that is a curse. Perfectionists can be very successful, but they can also be very inefficient and as a result, not that productive or successful. I think that if you ask people how they want to be judged in terms of chores, tasks, obligations, and their efforts in general, most will respond that they would like to be judged as accomplished and successful. No one wants to be viewed as a failure. We all have a lot of things to do. Often it seems as it's too many things to do. One reasonable standard is best efforts, namely that you do your best in everything. So part of this is also accepting our limitations, and that includes the idea that even our best efforts might leave us short in some areas. This will be very frustrating for the perfectionist type. So how do we deal with this struggle? The first thing is understanding one very basic premise, and that is all actions and events are not of the same importance. For example, piloting a jet with 200 passengers is quite a bit more important than riding your bike to the park. If a pilot isn't perfect, 200 people might lose their lives. If the biker isn't perfect, maybe he falls and scratches his knee. Spending money on basic necessities like housing and food is far more important than spending on vacations. So we must prioritize things in our lives. Some call these things goals, but I think the class is even more general to include all our actions, necessities, and optional. Since trying to be a perfectionist at full speed all the time is hard and can take its toll, a more efficient approach would be to strive to be a perfectionist on the highest priority actions, the ones that have the most important consequences to ourselves in particular and to society in general. The problem with trying to get things perfect on the less important things is that we spend too much time in doing so that we wind up with less time to deal with the bigger issues. A perfectionist faces the danger of running out of time because so much time might be spent on getting something perfect, even though the consequences of such perfection might be little added value. If you can give your car a good washing in 20 minutes, do you need to spend 3 hours to make the car shine brightly? Not really. So my first tip in being an efficient, productive person is to prioritize your actions by the importance of the consequences of those actions, and then confine your perfectionist desires and tendencies to those of the highest priority. Simple enough, huh? The second point I would like to make about being a perfectionist is that although there is a strong correlation between perfectionism and persistence, which is an admirable quality, there is a time when persistence straddles stubbornness, which is one of those mixed qualities. Stubbornness persistence is mostly a good thing. Inflexibility persistence is mostly a bad thing. So in our desires to get things perfect, we must be a realist and not stubbornly cling to doing something which either cannot be done or can take a extreme toll on us. You know what the biggest reason for not being too stubborn and inflexible? It is because as a mistake-making species, we sometimes make poor choices. And although it is good to be confident about our choices, we must maintain a healthy attitude that perhaps we're missing something, and thus, if we are too much of a perfectionist in some instances, we could be showing poor judgment and magnifying our mistake. My third point is that in order to be a perfectionist in as many areas as we deem important, we must take care to minimize distractions. Sometimes it seems that like life in general is one major distraction as we are pulled in many directions by society, family, responsibilities, recreations, and the rest. One of the biggest distractions in modern day times is social media, which includes TV, internet, cell phones, all the websites designed to capture your time and attention. Now there are a lot of good things with social benefits, including some profound social benefits, of all these things, but there is a real danger. Often social media can distract individuals from doing the higher priority things that demand our attention. We are surrounded by the allure of social media, which can be fun and cater to our needs, including enjoyment. But it also can deter us from the task at hand, which is to try to be a perfectionist on the higher priority tasks. So we must show discipline in not allowing too much of our attention to be diverted toward frivolous, time-consuming social media episodes, which will detract from doing the task at hand. So to summarize, if you want to be a perfectionist, then fine. But understand that first we must prioritize, because we cannot simply function at perfectionist levels toward everything. That can't be done. Secondly, we must be flexible and know when to pull the plug on some of our ventures, and the desire to be a perfectionist in some areas might be misguided and unproductive. Finally, in order to be at our best, we need to minimize all of the distractions that will not allow us to be at our best, much less perfect. Thank you very much. I hope that helps.